Hi, my name is Abby. I decided to make this documentary to highlight the behind the scenes challenges teachers can face within a classroom setting. Right now, I present to you Difficult Conversations.
I think that difficult conversations are going to come up in the classroom no matter what. I think it's just part of teaching and part of interacting with kids, and particularly with middle school and high school students, but really elementary students too. Start thinking about things and asking questions, and if they feel comfortable in your classroom, then probably those types of conversations are going to come up. So I think that teachers should expect difficult conversations and have some ideas in mind for how they will respond to difficult conversations when they occur.
My philosophy on having difficult conversations in the classroom is that I think it's really important for students to know that you care about them and that you value and care about their opinions and perspectives on things. I also think it is definitely important to have these conversations in the classroom and to know how to talk to students about these difficult topics.
And I think to add to that, I think difficult conversations aren't necessarily something that's bad. I know that people will associate it right away with like, oh no, this is going to be terrible. But we do difficult things all the time, and sometimes a difficult thing like a workout or a run, it's going to make you better. So we're looking to make ourselves better and make our students better, and having difficult conversations is just part of the job.
The characteristics a teacher should have include empathy, showing students that you can relate to them and their thoughts. I also think it's important that a teacher has patience um, and just is caring and kind.
They need to be well mannered. They should be stable. I think you need to be stable. Um, Open. You have to be open, and that goes to students too. Basically, anything that you want your students to possess, I think you need a model. And so I think once you have those kind of ingredients, you're able to better have difficult conversations.
I think the teacher should be thoughtful and sensitive in how they present information and respond to student comments, and they should realize that they probably have a whole spectrum of thoughts and experiences related to that, whatever that difficult concept is, across their classroom. And so I think there's a fine line to walk there in being the teacher and what people expect of you as a teacher. And I think individually, I think when you have difficult conversations with students, it's about being direct, empathetic, kind, a good listener, and aware, maybe aware that a student has some things going on and needs to have an individual conversation.
I'm going to keep it shorter and just say empathetic and a good listener.
The tools teachers can use to have these conversations include using the school counselor. The school counselor could come in and also facilitate these conversations with the teacher, or you can talk to the counselor about how to address the difficult conversations.
I would say greeting students at the door, um, walking around your classroom. Don't get buried behind your desk and doing work when students are working. Getting to know them individually, doing different activities to get to know them personally, and just those kinds of get to know you types of activities or games or different types of icebreakers. Know their names right away. Like that first week, get to know your students' names. Listen to them, and know when it's time to pass it on to somebody else.
Do you have any personal experiences? I have had personal experiences with difficult conversations. I have had students who told me, an eighth grader who told me she was getting bullied on the bus. I had a student who talked about his time that he was in rehab when I was teaching at the alternative high school, when he went to rehab twice and came out of rehab and still wanted to use drugs. I've had a difficult experience or a difficult conversation with a student that I had to initiate about hygiene and about showering and having clean clothes and the types of resources that student had, because I could see that that was something that was impacting the student in their ability to interact socially at school because of the way they were perceived by other students. So I also had, I don't remember if we were teaching together or not, but I had an 8th grade student who committed suicide. And so I didn't have, unfortunately, I didn't have a difficult conversation with him or any conversation with him before that happened, but I had a difficult conversation with students after that happened, the students who were in the classroom. And he was a student who didn't have a lot of friends, and I think people felt guilty because they didn't know him very well and wondered probably if they could have done something to help him.
I have had to have difficult conversations while I was student teaching, because in my 3rd grade placement, there was this boy in the class that not everybody liked. They thought he was strange because he would wear the same clothes almost every day. He would just kind of be up in your face, didn't really know personal boundaries. So he was facing bullying because students didn't want to be his partner for partner work in the classroom. They didn't want to play with him on the playground, such stuff like that. So to have this conversation, we utilized the school counselor that was there, and she came in and we had a discussion about bullying and why it is wrong, and how we use a heart as an example. And when you bully someone and are not kind to them, it crinkles your heart. And so then we would crinkle a piece of paper and we'd show that every time you're being mean to someone, it crinkles your heart. And now there's all these little crinkles, and it will take so long to uncrinkle your heart.
When I was in middle school, I had a friend, I think he was a sophomore. He was bullied for being gay, and one day he killed himself. And obviously, I just lost a friend, so I was like, what did I do wrong? Where could I have helped him? I had to talk to myself to figure out, where do I go from here? But then also, as a group, we talked with each other too, because at that point it wasn't just my friend dying. It was also the fact that he was being bullied. And so you've got to bring in that conversation of, this is what happened when a death occurred, but also this is why we can't bully each other. This is why we need to accept people. You don't necessarily have to agree with people, but you have to accept them, or at least respect them at the very least.
So by now, you've learned some helpful tips, tricks, and inspirational stories to help guide you through difficult conversations in your classroom. These conversations can come up very randomly, so hopefully this prepares you for your future careers.